Hey guys, Matt Mitrovich here, the alternate historian. I've decided to do something a little different here, and I'm going to review Years of Rice and Salt by Kim Stanley Robinson. This book is probably one of the best known non-Western alternate histories, even though it's written by a white guy from California. To be honest, I really was looking forward to reviewing this work. Last Kim Stanley Robinson book I read was Red Mars, and I didn't like it. I didn't like it at all, and I know that's probably not going to go well with a lot of people because that's a very beloved book. I believe they were making it a TV show or movie. I can't remember which right now. But I didn't like it. It was a slog to get through, and I didn't want to read this book, but there's so many people who have recommended it to me. I finally decided to give in and read it. And to be honest, I really enjoyed it. This is a really good book, and I highly recommend it. The premise of the book is that the Black Death kills off 99% of the population of Europe. Afterwards, Muslims from North Africa and the Middle East colonize Europe. The Chinese form this maritime empire in the Pacific Rim. The Native Americans form a league to resist Chinese and Muslim invaders. And there's eventually a 67-year-long war that's supposed to correspond with World War I, World War II, and the Cold War from our timeline. The book is divided up into 10 chapters, each chapter forming a different period. And this is most intriguing and ingenious part of the book is that the characters, despite being centuries of time being covered, are the same. They're constantly being reincarnated and reborn into different time periods, into different bodies, sexes, ethnicities, races. It's really great, actually. And you tell these characters apart over the years by the first letter of their name. And that's so that one character who might be an African slave in the first story suddenly becomes a Chinese explorer in the next one, and it's really great. It's a really interesting way of doing it, and I really enjoyed it. Despite often changes between race and sex and all those things, the characters' personalities tend to be the same across the time periods. So, excuse me as I look at my notes as I read off this. You have K, the eternal activist. You have B, the naive optimist. You have I, the scientist. You have P, the servant and companion, and you have S, the self-absorbed asshole. Seriously, I hate this guy. Constantly, while other characters are learning and improving and changing, this guy is always the same. And I think that was kind of intentional by the author. I don't think this was a mistake. I think he really wanted to show that this guy was sort of the anchor for the group, because these characters are, even as they're reincarnated and moved across different geographical locations, they always tend to find each other. And so you have this S character, who in many ways is the antagonist, but oftentimes really isn't helping or hindering the movement. He's just there to be an asshole. I felt kind of sorry for him because I feel like he was a slave to his own character, and Kay was always hard on him too, and for probably good reasons as well. But yeah, it was a weird character to sort of include with the group, but I can also see it, because we all have that part of our personality that always seems to cause problems. We really want to, lose weight, but there's that candy bar and I just immediately grab it and eat it. That's kind of the S inside of all of us, that person who just is a slave to their impulses instead of getting over it and everything like that. I really enjoyed that part of the book. There are certain themes that come up again and again throughout the different time periods that were covered. One of them is feminism. Many of the characters spend time as women, and you get to see how women were treated by different cultures throughout different time periods, and how this kind of is how you see how powerless women are throughout history, even when you remove a major culture, Europeans, from it, and you see them. And it's weird sometimes when you see one character who at one point in a past life was a leader, a powerful man, and then suddenly in the next life he's a woman and suddenly powerless. And it's an interesting contrast that Robinson shares with us. And then at the same time you have the theme of the nature of Islam. Many characters are spend time as being Muslim or interact with Muslims, and you start seeing the contrast of this religion. You have a religion that preaches peace and compassion and yet has many violent followers. You see a religion that preaches about equality before God, and yet you have clear definitions of power between men and women, between free man and slave. And it's interesting. It's like, what exactly is this religion? And I found it pretty fascinating, actually, to see the dichotomy of this religion portrayed throughout this alternate history. What I probably liked best about this book was that the way Robinson presents this alternate history, it's not better or worse than our own. It's just different. There are aspects of it that are better than ours, such as you have less nationalism near the present time of the book, because people are deciding they don't want to have war or anything like that, and they're actually actively trying to prevent nations from having nuclear weapons. But then on the other hand, you still have a world where women seem to actually have it slightly worse off by the present time than we have in our own time period, which is not good. And again, but which one is better? A world that's more peaceful, or a world that where there's still a struggle to have equality? I mean, hell, in our world, we're still struggling to have equality. But just based on my own reading of it, it seemed like this world is a little worse off for women in the present day than it is in our time. What I didn't like about this book, and I know this is sort of a weird thing to say that kind of loses the book for me, but it's actually the fans of the book. Doing research on this book, you get a lot of people praising this book for its promotion of social history, which is sort of a field of history where you focus on sort of like family life and the more cultural stuff than essentially grand politics and war and all that kind of stuff. Which is great. It does do that at certain points, but at the same time, a lot of the characters are important people. They found countries. They explore new lands. They're scientists who revolutionize the way people think. Kay, for example, the Kay character, at one point is an analog for not only Columbus, but also for Napoleon. There's a lot of great men and women throughout this book who we see the perspective from, and we see that grand politics, we see war and things like that, and not that much social history that I think people believe is in the book. Again, maybe that's just my opinion, maybe I'm missing something, but I thought there was a lot of the great man theory of history throughout this book than people give it credit for. In conclusion, I found Years of Rice and Salt to be an amazing read. I highly recommend you go pick up a copy as soon as possible. Robinson did a really good job at creating a history that was not only different from ours, and yet similar enough that you don't feel like you're looking at something that couldn't possibly happen. It's a really good book. I highly recommend you go read it. I can't really stress that enough. This was a great book to do one of my first video reviews on. Hopefully I'll have a bad review I can give so you can see me really angry instead of really excited about reading a book. But then I like being excited about reading books. I don't like reading books I don't enjoy, because who does that? I like reading books I want to recommend to people. I want to show how excited I am about it, and I hope to do more of those in the future. So this is Matt Mitrovich, the alternate historian, signing off. Bye.